Hey guys, PK here. Auto enthusiast, flipper, buyer, anything car related, I pretty much do it. I just thought I'd make a quick video for you guys um, on my 3 best beater mobiles. Now, I don't know where you guys grew up, but where I grew up, it was just full of just beater cars, cracked windshields, ripped off bumpers, just all of these nappy, crappy rides. But they got you from point A to B, and you'd be freaking amazed at how many miles were on some of these cars. So, for all my guys and girls out there that really need a car, and you guys are just trying to pinch pennies together, you want to get a good car, you don't want to get ripped off, you don't have the money to go buy new, you don't have credit, you don't have tons of cash, whatever it is, well, these you're going to need a little bit of cash for, at least a couple $100. But if that sounds like you, these are my cars. Okay. Now, I personally have owned 2 of these. We're just going to jump right in. The first one, Honda Civics, 1996 to 2000. I just feel like if you've grown up in America, you have seen one of these, and people use them for everything. They work as a truck. You can fit probably 8 people into them. They got really good trunk space. They seat 5, put a couple in the trunk. They fit tons of people. Great gas mileage. You're looking at least high 30s, potentially 40s if you kill the car while you're coasting downhill. And these things go. I mean, I had 3, I think in high school I had like 3 or 4 of these that had over 200,000 miles. And we beat these cars to hell. I think we had 1 manual and 2 automatics, and we just drove these cars hard. We had a lot of fun doing it. But they've got really, really good motors. They're extremely reliable. Parts are super, super cheap. Heck, I had one with a ripped off bumper that I drove around for a while. One time, it like sprung an oil leak out of the side of the engine, so we just took a bunch of like RTV black, drained the oil, and shoved a bunch of RTV black in like the side of the block. I don't even remember where it was. This is before I even started working on cars very much, just to try to get that oil leak to stop. And sure enough, it stopped, filled it back up with oil, and the thing drove like a top. So that would be my number one choice. Generally, you might have a harder time finding one of these under $1,000. If you do, you're easily going to be looking at over 200,000 miles. There's no way you'll find one with less than 200,000 miles for less than $1,000. But depending on the market that you're in, if you're in California, Texas, Utah, East Coast, New York, I doubt you'll find one for less than 1,000. But anywhere else, keep your eyes open. They go really, really fast. Every time I've ever sold one of these, it's gone the same day. Even when it's a good price, even when it's at a pretty competitive price, it will sell and be gone within like 2 to 3 hours. So put your notifications on a Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, on KSL, whatever you use, because make sure you got that cash in hand if you're looking for one. And if one pops up, you got to go buy it. As long as it drives good and there's no knocks, the brakes work, there's no check engine lights, and it's got oil in it, I would say you're probably fine. If you're under 300,000 miles, I would say you're probably good to 300,000 miles. So if you could find one with 220, 230,000 miles, I mean, if you really care about how it looks, that's your problem. But if you don't care, you can get a beater Honda Civic that has the pull string windshield wipers for less than $1,000, guaranteed. I guarantee you can find one. It might only be on Facebook for like 2 or 3 hours before it's sold, but I guarantee you they're posted in your area. So keep your eyes out. I guarantee you can find one. Okay, number 2. This eclipses the Civic and how ugly it is. If you know what I'm talking about, this is the ugliest car, one of the ugliest cars ever made. Par none. It's so ugly. and that is the Ford Taurus first gen 1995 to 1999. I've never owned one of these, but they make me gag when I see them on the road. But they are stupid reliable. I was literally reading a forum earlier, and it was guys bragging about who had the most miles, like it was a trophy. And these guys are pulling 280, 300, 320 on their Tauruses. So these things are stupid reliable. They share a lot of parts on the interior with the F-Series trucks and some of the other cars of the Ford lineup. So parts are really, really cheap for these. They're an American car, so you're not going to have a hard time getting parts of these at auto parts stores. There are less of these on the road, I would say, than Civics, so you might have a harder time, but they don't sell that fast. Just because I don't think they're as sought after, but they are stupid ugly. They've got lots of space. They have a lot of trunk space, and I'm pretty sure all the models come with, or all the submodels come with V6s. So they're going to have plenty of get up and go. They'll be super reliable, and they're just going to be a great car. Like, you're not winning any fashion shows with this car, but got some get up and go. It'll get you where you need to go. This does not get as good gas mileage just because it's a bigger car. But if you can get one I was looking at some earlier. There was like literally one for $500. So you could definitely get these for really, really, really cheap. You just got to keep your eyes open. If you do use Facebook, I don't know if you can set alerts on that, but if you're in Utah, you can definitely set up alerts with KSL and pretty much anywhere else in the nation with Craigslist. So yeah, Ford Taurus, number 2. My number 3 pick is going to be a Ford Focus 1998 to 2008. This was a super long-running generation. It shares a lot of kind of the same things with the Taurus. It gets better gas mileage because it's a little smaller. It's more of like a Civic Coupe looking car. My only experience personally with these is I went to go look and buy one with my sister, and it had come from up north, and the thing was rusting out like a mother. But they're really, really cheap. They're super reliable. Generally the same thing with the Tauruses. You're usually good for, I would say, 300,000 miles, honestly. If you can get something that's sub 300,000 miles, as long as it's got all of its fluids, it has no check engine lights, and the tires are good, it's just money. Honestly, on these older cars, make sure the tires are good, because if you have to replace the tires on it, it's going to be like a third of the car's total value. And when I was in high school and we bought beaters, we would sell cars when the tires got bald, so we didn't have to replace it, because it was worth more to sell it than it was to buy more tires for it, new tires, or to go to the junkyard and pull tires off something else and then to sell it. Right? So, 1996 to 2000 Honda Civic, 1995 to 1999 Ford Taurus. Also, the following generation of the Taurus is also really good. They're more expensive because they're not as ugly, but they're still really good cars. 1998 to 2008 Focus. Those are my 3 beater mobiles. They are dirt cheap. They are freaking reliable. They will go for 300,000 miles. And if you're going to go look at one of these, you got to check your engine oil. Ask the owner about the engine oil. Ask them when they replaced it last. When you're driving it. So as long as the engine oil is there and there's no knocks, one way you can tell is start the car and put your hands on the motor. And if it feels smooth, you're good. If there's any knocks, clicks, or ticks, any vibrations, I will probably walk away from it. Take it for a drive. See how the transmission shifts. If it's pretty smooth, there's not any gaps between the shifts. If there's no hard shifting. And then make sure the brakes work good. Make sure there's not any rust on it. Those are my big for these 3 cars, because they're going to be old. They're going to be well worn. But if you got all of those things, I bet you could get into one between $200 and $1,000. You just got to keep your eyes open and get the right one. Well, those are my 3 budget beaters for today. Let me know if you have any other ideas, any questions, or any other cars that you guys wanted me to make videos on. Deuces.